Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Charlie and I am a UX designer. You might have noticed that this room is a little different from the room that I usually film my videos in, but that's because I just finished moving and I'm really excited to do a future office room kind of tour for you guys. But in today's video, we are going to be talking about 11 of the most commonly asked questions that I get from you guys on Instagram and on other social media sites about your UX case study and your portfolio. The reason that this is 11 and not some nice number like 10 or like 5 is because I couldn't find a way to group all of the questions that you guys asked into 10 really nice kind of topics, but we are very thorough and specific on this channel, and we are a channel of professionals, so let's get right into the video. To start off, the first question that I got asked was, are you only limited to using one prototyping tool in a company? So the short answer to that is yes, you are going to be using just one prototyping tool for most of the companies that you end up working with. One of the reasons for this is because companies need to buy licenses for these prototyping tools in order to use them, and it's just easier and more budget friendly to keep everyone on the same tool. This is also a really good way for the company to build a partnership with that prototyping tool company, and then you can get like specific benefits or also be part of like other programs with that company and just build up a relationship from there. Another reason for this is because it makes it easier for UX designers to collaborate with each other. Yes, a lot of these prototyping tools do have some of the same functionality and features, but there's also a learning curve when you're switching between them. And making sure that teams can work seamlessly together is something that's really valuable, so we try to stay on the same tool. Another reason I can think of is that devs and project managers need to take a look at whatever is created in these prototyping tools, so it's easier for them if they are only using one tool and they don't have to download a bunch of different ones. The next question is, what if you have a long last name and you don't want to use it when buying your domain name? So I think this is a really good question, and I didn't really think about this when I was buying my own because my name is quite short. So one of the things that I could recommend for you guys is to use your first name and your middle name instead. Maybe that will shorten things up for you. Another way that you can handle this is by using your first name and then adding designs or UX to the end of it. This is also a really good way that you can create a domain name for your portfolio website. Whatever name that you choose to use, just make sure it's something that you're comfortable with and that there is some correlation between your name and the name on your resume and also on your portfolio. Where is the best place to host this? Personally, I use Netlify to host my portfolio website, but that's because I did it through HTML and CSS by myself. For me, I really don't like using drag and drop interfaces because I don't feel like they are very precise, and I just feel more comfortable and more free when I get to work in code. If you don't want to code your own website, then try something like Wix, Squarespace, or Webflow. I've heard really good things about all three of them. It's really up to you at the end of the day. Just make sure you consider your time, your budget, and the design that you want to implement. The next question is, how much research is enough? So I think this is a really great question, and it really just depends on how many exercises you feel like you need to do in order to understand and frame the problem, create the solution, and also how you would like to present the solution. Keep in mind that you still need to be doing research after you get out of that initial discovery and research phase so that you are able to do proper testing. The research activities that you choose to do is really going to depend on the type of problem that you're trying to solve. And as you get further and further along into your career, the more experience you have in choosing the right research technique that is going to work for your product. I know this doesn't really help when creating your first case study, but I would recommend including at least 5 research techniques. The next question is, do I show all of my research? So the short answer is yes, you should always include all of the research that you do for your case study. The reason being is that every single thing that you do for research is going to have some kind of impact on your case study and the final result. The worst thing that could happen is that when you go into an interview and you are explaining your case study, you talk about some kind of change that you have made and you don't have the research presented in the case study to back it up. It's going to be a very difficult situation for you to talk yourself through, and I just don't want to see you guys in that situation. So make sure you include everything in it. If you do feel like you just have a lot of research and it could get very overwhelming, keep in mind that everyone who is going to be reading your case study is going to be a UX designer, or they're going to be a UX designer to be, and this is everything that we are really interested in, so don't worry about being too thorough. If you do feel like it is a bit overwhelming how much research you have, try switching up how you're able to show off the different research findings that you had come up with. For example, if you created a persona, then show the actual persona that you created. If you had done a survey, create a data visualization that can help you show the results in a different way. Also try including pictures and text to break up some of these research findings. This is a really good chance for you to get creative with your case study. The next question is, can I make my portfolio into a case study project? Alright, so this is very meta, and I definitely appreciate and respect the efficiency, but I would recommend not doing that. And the main reason for this is because it makes it way too personal when you are creating a case study project that is on your own portfolio. To me, it just seems a little too close, and also it's not showing that you can build empathy with other people if you choose to go this route. So I definitely don't recommend doing this. The next question is kind of in the same line, but can I be the user and the persona? So again, my answer is going to be the same. I would not recommend doing this because again, you're not showing that you can build empathy with someone else. When you are creating a case study in your portfolio, make sure that you are only taking on the role of a UX designer. It is very rare that you would ever be the stakeholder, that you would ever be the client, and that you would ever be really the end user. So definitely try not to do that when creating a case study for your project. Also, a persona is a common understanding or a common generalization on your user. So basing it off of one person, especially yourself, is not really going to be a persona at all. And while we were on the topic, I don't recommend that you choose pictures of celebrities to turn into your personas. It just seems a little too unrealistic. At my current company, we use AI generated images of all the faces that we include into our personas and into our presentations. I will put a link to that website in the description below. So the next question is, how do I start building my first case study? So this is a really good question, and the way that I want to explain it is by going over the three kind of categories that I feel like case studies usually fall into. The first is a case study where you create a brand new product. The second is if you are implementing a feature into an already existing product. And the third is a total redesign of an already existing product. As you are starting to create your first case study, I highly recommend that you do not create a redesign of an already existing product. Redesigning an entire product can get very overwhelming, and I don't think it's a good way to start off your very first case study. I would recommend starting off with the second type of category, which is creating a feature to an already existing product. So a good way that you can find an idea is by looking at the apps that you currently have downloaded onto your phone or onto your tablet and finding out what kind of feature that you would like to add onto one of these products itself. Another method that I really like to use is by looking at some of the apps that I have already downloaded onto my device and then trying to find some of its competitor apps. When I look at these competitors, I try to figure out what kind of feature or what kind of changes they can make in order for me to download it in place of the app that I currently have. And doing this is a really good way to practice your design critiquing skills. Finally, I like to go onto places like Medium and look at case studies done by UX designers that I really admire. And if you're looking for more tips and advice in creating your first case study, then do check out my video. I'm going to have a card on the top right hand corner of this video. The next question is, where do I find participants to test lists? So this really depends on the stage you're at in the design process. I know there are some sites like Chalkmark where you're able to actually pay people in order to test your system. You can also try a subreddit called Sample Size to find more online participants. You can also try reaching out to your network on LinkedIn or also to your department at school. Finally, and it does depend on the type of solution that you're creating, you can also try testing it on people that you know. Back when I used to teach Taekwondo, I used to test out a lot of the software that I was making for children with the children there, and it was also a really good chance to introduce kids to what UX is. So the next question is, how do we know if our redesign is effective? As you are starting out your research, it is really important to keep in mind what you feel like would mean success in this project. And for every project that you come across, the meaning of success is going to be different. For example, success can mean more people buying a product. It could mean more people viewing a page. It could mean that people are able to get their work done faster. Again, it really just depends on the project that you're on. As you go further and further along into your design process, you should be able to find out whether or not you are getting closer and closer to your measure of success. A lot of the times when we are doing this in real projects, it happens when we are able to push out a final project live into the hands of our users. But as you are starting on your first case study, then you might not be able to have those resources to create that final product. If you find yourself in that position, try to create a high fidelity prototype that you can test against your users, and then document your findings on that. The final question for this video is, what is the biggest mistake that you see on case studies? So in my opinion, the biggest mistake that I found is when people try to make themselves into the user. As soon as the UX designer considers themselves the users, the entire project is going to be based upon their assumptions and their biases. To be a good UX designer, you need to be able to work in a collaborative environment, and you need to be able to receive feedback from your peers or from the people that you test your software on. By creating a case study where you are the UX designer, the end user, and the stakeholder, you're showing that you don't really understand what UX is. It can be really difficult to receive feedback and also critique on something that you poured your heart into. But this is just a part of being a UX designer. You have to remember that you are not the user. In order to be a good UX designer, you need to be able to receive that feedback and to accept critique. And by getting feedback, it is the best way for you to improve. So these are all of the questions that I had for today's video. I hope this video was able to help you out with creating your case study. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like and also to subscribe to my channel. We talk about UX here. That's kind of what we do. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!